Alright, Senkojin here. Welcome to part 2 of the tutorial. Now I'm going to show you how to set up your NIF file to be used in the creation kit. So let's get started. So we're going to navigate to your Fallout 4 tools, wherever you have them. Now I use 3ds Max to export my NIFs, but a lot of people don't have access to 3ds Max. So I'm going to show you the way that is possible with Bodyslide and Outfit Studio, which is a free program to download from the Nexus. So you're going to open up the Bodyslide Studio. You'll get these 3 folders. Go to Tools, Bodyslide, and you want to run the Bodyslide X64 extension. This thing opens up. You go down to Outfit Studio. When this opens up, you're going to find your files that you've, whatever it is that you exported them as. I did mine as OBJs. So you're going to click, drag and drop. Now, when I use 3ds Max, these are orientated correctly. The orientation of the mesh. For some reason, when I use Bodyslide, it does not do this for me. It orientates it incorrectly. I don't know why. So once you have this opened, you'll click File, Export, Export NIF, just hit Yes, and then you're going to navigate to where you want to keep your mesh for now, because we're not going to be putting it in the folder for meshes that we made in the first lesson. This is just to house our NIF so we can set it up to be used in Fallout 4. So these are from 3ds Max, but for this I'm going to show you for Bodyslide, so I made a separate folder. So name it Blade, because this is the blade portion of your sword. Now if you have 2 parts to your sword, which if you want to sword or whatever it is melee weapon you're having, if you separate it into a handle and a separate item, like so in my instance it's a handle and a blade, you can switch out the blades or switch out whatever it is that you're going to be attacking with. So that's why I'm doing it this way. I have it separated into 2 pieces, and hit save. Now we're going to be doing the handle. So File, New Project. Oops. Actually, no, I'll not do that. So just close that. Outfit Studio again. Go back to your folder. Now I have the blade OBJ and I have the handle OBJ. So now I'm going to open up the handle. There's my beautiful handle. It's just a little cylinder. Don't worry about it if it says no image on it. That doesn't matter. Export. Yes. Handle. Save. Open up a 3rd time. Now this is the 3rd blade I made. It's going to be a serrated blade to show you that you can switch out blades in the game. So like this is a completely different blade from what you saw before. It has little serrations on it. So File, Export, Export NIF, yes, Blade SR. Just name something that you can know what each one is. Save. That part's done. So now we are going to go to our weapons folder. Sorry, that's incorrect. I'm going to go to our tools folder. Sorry, that's not it. Where the hell is it at? There it is. Tools. For weapons. These are where I extracted my meshes to that I use for the game. So when I told you how to do the materials extract, this is where you would extract your mesh. I've already done it. So we're going to open up NifScope. And we want to open up 4 of these. Now there's lots of ways to do it, but this is the way I do it. So we're going to open the blade. There's the Chinese officer sword blade. You want to try to get something as close to your weapon as possible. Since I'm doing a sword, I'm using a Chinese officer sword. And now we want to open up our mesh that we just completed, that we just exported from Body Slide. So there's our blade. Drag and drop it. As you can see, this is upside down. Don't worry about that, we'll fix that in a second. So you're going to click on this, and this whole thing is going to open up. You're going to click on this. You're going to click on Remove Branch. And Remove Branch. This is the only thing we want in here. We don't want any, like, see how we had a drop down before on this part? You don't want a drop down. So after you have no more drop down, you're going to right click on it, go to Block, Convert, Bethesda, BS Tri-Shape. Then I right click, Block, Copy, click on the mesh that we're going to be converting it to, hit the drop down, right click on the 9 node, block, paste. Oh my goodness, that's huge. Body Slide, when I export it from Max, it's the correct size, so I wasn't prepared for that, so I had to hurry up and check to see how I could fix this. So it's no big deal. If it's if your sword is gigantic, or your melee weapon is huge like mine is, you want to match it to the size of this sword blade. So what you do is you hit right click on it, transform, edit. This is the scale of whatever it is that you're making. So since I just did this, I know what I need to do. So just play around with it until you get to about the same size as the sword that you're using. And this is for rotation. So it's 90 degrees because it was pointing straight down, so now it's correct. Hit accept. So now that we have that, alright, so after you paste into the 9 node, we're going to set up the lighting shader property for this. Now, one thing that we need to do right quick is to how we scaled this, go back and copy these numbers back to this. This is going to be important later to save us some time. So, whatever it is that before you had, mine was at 09, excuse me. This is going to be important for later, so just scale it to whatever to match this one is. Go back to the one that we're currently working on, which is the Chinese officer sword blade. And you want to decollapse the file archive for the current sword blade, or the current thing in your file. For us, it's this. And this right here is the lighting shader property for the blade, which is this little number right here is 11. And the actual name of the blade, if you go to, see how this says blade 0 and then it has a 9 next to it, that represents the string number. So go to header, strings, and then the first one is 0. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9. So our blade, what's currently named inside of the NIF, is right here. So if whatever you change this to is what it will be named. I'm just going to leave it alone. I'm just going to leave it as blade. And I want to copy that number, this 9, to here. So 9. So now our sword blade is named the same thing as the Chinese officer sword blade, which is blade 0. Now we want to copy our BS lighting shader property from this to R blade. So once you have this selected, which we do, you're going to scroll down here at the bottom of the block list to this BS properties, decollapse the shelf, double click on it, and put the number wherever next to this decollapse, and a decollapse button is same thing it is as here, put it down here. So 11, 11, enter. Now this is going to assign the BS lighting shader property to R blade, which is what we want. Now we have no more use for this blade, so let's right click on it, block, hit remove. Don't hit remove branch, because if you remove branch you're going to remove the blade and the lighting shader property, which is what we don't want. We just want to remove the blade. So just hit remove. It will remove that blade. Our blade sees in the scene with its lighting shader property. So now we need to change the texture paths. So just click on this bottom list. It'll bring up all the textures that are assigned to this currently, which before it was a Chinese officer sword blade, so we need to change that. And now whatever you named your textures, like remember how we did the textures, name the exact same thing as you did for the textures as you're going to do in here. So ours was tutorial sword, _D for diffuse, and then the file which contains the textures, tutorial sword, copy this whole thing, put an S at the end for not S, N for normal map. Now you're going to skip a space, go to the 4th line, paste it, and you're going to do specular. I'm not really sure what this thing does. I just know it has to go in the 3rd row. It doesn't hurt to have it, but I don't know what it does if you don't have it, so I just leave it in there and then delete this one. This is the other specular for the Chinese officer sword. Now we also need to change the BGSM file. Right now this is telling the game that its BGSM is located in materials, weapons, Chinese officer sword, which is not what we have. So remember when we named the BGSM, you want to name this the exact same thing as you did for the BGSM. So tutorial sword, and then this is the file that it's located in under weapons, which ours is still tutorial sword. Then you're going to refresh the strings and go back to block list and make sure it's updated, which it did, which is good. Alright, so now remember I told you before that we need to do this. This is the reason why. So you're going to go to copy again, click here, paste it just as before. So it gives us a new one. Now this is to set up the blood, so that way you can hit something in game that shows blood on the blade. Now what we're going to do is the same thing as before. We're going to take this lighting shader property from here and assign it to our blade. And we're also going to name it our blood blade. So same thing as before. There's a 5 here, so we're going to change this to 5. So it's now blood blade, 5. And now we're going to copy this BS lighting shader property to ours, the same as before. Scroll down to BS properties, double click, there's a 7, we want 7. Alright, so now it's assigned the texture set for the blood. Now this 9 alpha property, I'm not exactly sure what it does, I just know it needs to be there. And you can't do this the same way as we did the other thing. Like normally you just go in here, type in 9 and it would assign it to that. If you do it that way, it causes the blade or your melee weapon to work incorrectly and causes it to crash the game. I don't know why it does this, but it does. So the workaround is right click on it, block, copy branch, click R mod, R mesh, right click in here, left click to highlight it, right click, block, paste branch. Now this assigns a new 9 alpha property to it, so it's different from this one, and it will cause it to work correctly. So now that we're done with this, we want to right click on this, right click on the 9 alpha node, block, remove, don't remove the branch of this thing because it'll remove the lighting shader property, which we want to keep. So don't click on this. Click on the actual blood blade of the original one. Right click, block, remove. So now this should have the lighting shader property from the old one, and now the blood one. Now one last final step. Click on our new blood blade that we just made. Go down and click on flags. Double left click to highlight, then change this to 15. What this does is it makes our new blade invisible for the blood blade. If you do not make this a 15, it'll leave it visible, and you'll constantly have blood on your sword all the time. Now, if that's something you want to do, you can do it. Knock yourself out. But I don't like that. So once we're done with this, we're going to clean up the listing of the numbers. See how this is 11 and 10 and 4? That's not correct. So we're going to go spells, sanitize, reorder link arrays, then spells, sanitize, reorder blocks. So now it should all go in consistent order. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Everything looks correct. Make sure that the textures are still correct. We're good. Now if you leave a gap in these, I have found that sometimes it can cause the game to not work or crash. So I always make sure that there's no gaps. It goes diffuse, normal, whatever the hell this thing is, and then specular. Alright, so excuse me. I think we're out of time for this tutorial, so in the next one I'll show you how to set up the handle and then how to set up the creation kit.